Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Joining me today is Manjit Minhas, who is a well-known Canadian entrepreneur, panelist on the Dragon's Den television show, and of course, founder of Minhas Breweries, Distilleries and Wineries in Calgary here. Thanks for joining us today, Manjit.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're here to talk today about a survey that was put out by the Canadian Payroll Association today on essential benefits and for employees. I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the Gen Z and millennials these days, what do they want from an employer?
Yeah, interestingly enough, the survey that was released today by the Canadian Payroll Association that was done by Angus Reid focused on all age groups, but specifically, yes, Gen Z and millennials. And 79% of Gen Z and millennial employees said that consistent and accurate pay is of the utmost importance to them, especially now. And so I think that is definitely interesting to some employers because many people, thought that all those work perks that they've been investing in for the last many years and have been told that they are more important is kind of eye-opening to many employers.
Yeah, it's the old show me the money thing, right? That people, yeah, you can have a foosball table and a little den in your office, but, they want to see that paycheck coming in on a constant basis, right?
Yeah, and interestingly enough, it's one of those things that definitely is something that we all know, but hasn't necessarily had the spotlight on, especially the last little while. And so the survey really focused on benefits in general also. And so it was really interesting to find out that compared to all benefits, health, dental, retirement plans, those paid lunches at work and gym memberships and all those work perks that we've been investing in as employers over the last many decades, all are second or down the line. And top of mind for Gen Zs and millennials is accurate, consistent, and timely pay. And what I mean by that is not how much they get paid, but how they get paid. And so it's interesting that, it was surprising to me, but not. And why I say that is because, we started 21 years ago, my brother and I, Minhas Breweries and Distilleries. And once we started getting employees on our payroll, we thought we knew what we were doing. But unfortunately, a couple of years in, when we had, a couple dozen employees, we had a breakdown in our payroll, and it was late by a day, and it was late 2 payrolls in a row. And I definitely heard about it. And yeah. I then realized myself how important it is to make sure that it is timely and consistent, because those employees were expecting payroll on a Wednesday, and on Thursday they had mortgage payments and car payments and other financial commitments. And if we broke that trust by not having that pay in their bank accounts on Wednesdays, that's extremely stressful for them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what about the benefits side of things? I think a lot of companies, especially in the last few years, have tried a lot of things or done a lot of things. And the tech industry is renowned for that, right? What do you think, where is that going into the future? Do you think we'll see more of these types of benefits being offered to retain and to attract employees?
Yeah, it might seem obvious to employers and or employees that payroll be something that be focused on, but unfortunately, sometimes not. Like you say, we have been investing in a lot of other things, and payroll and the professional management of it is something that has definitely lost its value, it seems like. But the survey really focuses on the fact that it hasn't, and it definitely was consistent over all age groups. But what I do love about this is that it was very Canadian specific, because a lot of the surveys and research that is found is very North America wide or worldwide, or focuses on the US or Europe. And this was only done for Canadians. And so it really does show that what might seem obvious is sometimes left out of the conversation when it comes to engaging and retaining employees. And it really does help engaging and keeping your employees happy, which in the end of the day is really what we're all looking to do as employers, to find that peace of mind for our employees, not to have to worry that their pay will not be there when it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Is there anything else from the survey itself, Manjit, that struck you?
Well, yeah, a couple things. One, in that 3 out of 5 Gen Zs actually said that this is most important to them now compared to pre-pandemic. And I think that it's because everybody, no matter where you are in the world, because the pandemic has hit us worldwide, but Canadians in particular, and the younger generation is actually taking a real strong look at their finances. And it necessarily hasn't been done by them and had that inflection by them before. So financial literacy, financial commitments, everything to do with their finances is they're spending some time and energy to understand. And so I think it's important for employers to ask, what is important to you, instead of assuming what is important to their employees, so they can make a benefit program that actually helps engage and retain those employees.
Okay, super. I'm going to ask you a couple of other questions, not related, but kind of, but just on being an entrepreneur in these times. What would you give in terms of advice to people out there who are entrepreneurs, who are, facing these challenging times? Just today I've been on the phone all day talking to people in Ontario. Their stay-at-home order has been extended to June 2nd, for example, and it's been difficult for the year and a bit for all these small business owners and entrepreneurs to survive. What's your advice to people in general right now?
Yeah, my heart goes out to them. It's definitely been a tough time, and it's been a tough time for every company, no matter the size. And I think that's something that small businesses hopefully find a little bit of comfort in the fact that no matter if you're large, medium, or small, everybody is finding challenges, and it has been tough. But I am an optimist through and through, and I think all entrepreneurs have to be and are pragmatic, but definitely an optimist. And I know that we will come out of this and we will bounce back. But we do have to have that inflection. We do have to have that introspection to say, okay, how can I pivot? How can I make my business not only here and thrive and strive today, but into the future? And I think a lot of people are discovering collaborations, reaching out into their communities to see what customers really need. I think for a lot of companies for too long that they did what they wanted to do. They weren't listening to their consumers. And so I also think that it's provided a lot of focus for a lot of entrepreneurs. And continuing to say, okay, I need to hone my skills, my talents, my offerings as to what I am offering my customers. And so I think that, it's made everybody digitally savvy, and that won't go away, that there does have to be hybrid models for everybody involved. But, I think that it's definitely one of those times that we're all getting creative. And I definitely am looking forward to going into the Den actually in 2 weeks to meet new Canadians that come into the Den with the ideas that they have come up during this pandemic in the last year, and what businesses, because in any economic downturn, including now, I know, just looking at history, a lot of great ideas and a lot of great businesses have been born out of tough times. And so I think that this will be no different.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, right? Because it's the businesses that see trends and see opportunities, but more importantly, pounce on them fairly quickly, that do well, right? And all we have to do is go back to, say, March of last year and see how many businesses jumped into doing different things, right? Whether it's masks, whether it's sanitizers. Your company, that's what it did. It did, right? You were pretty fast on the ball there, getting out sanitizer stuff, right?
We definitely were. It wasn't something that we planned for or ever I would ever tell you that we would be able to do even. But we, like I say, overnight, definitely within 8 days, got up and running, got all Health Canada approvals and, new suppliers. And I think that this has been an interesting time too, to discover new markets and just not do everything that you have done blindly as a company over and over again. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of work. I work a lot, but I've definitely worked more during this pandemic than I ever have. I too am, missing traveling and missing new partnerships, but adjusting to the new normals and finding those silver linings, even within our own organizations, but also finding the time in order to kind of come up and hone my own new talents and skills. I think which every entrepreneur and founder needs to do. But my advice is keep going, and definitely, don't give up.
Yeah. One last thing, Manjit, you know who Jim Gray is, right? Jim Gray, the oil man in Calgary. Yeah. Okay. So Jim Gray, this is something he said years ago that has always stuck with me. Back, I think when we were going through the recession of back the global financial thing, there was a gentleman in Calgary named Jeff Bradshaw, who was a videographer, and he did a video series talking to a bunch of Calgarians, including Mayor Nenshi and other business leaders, talking about the recession and coping with the recession and moving on. But the one thing that Jim Gray said that has always stuck with me is the fact that, sometimes recessions aren't bad because it forces companies to look within at what they're doing. When good times are rolling, the money's rolling, and you're spending it freely, etc., but maybe not as wisely. Do you agree with what he's saying?
Completely agree with them. Yeah, and I think that most organizations, once we come out of this, will definitely do that. We in our own companies, the Minhas Breweries and Distilleries, in all of our operations, have definitely found efficiencies. We have found holes. We have found new ways of doing things. In some ways, because we had to with the use of technology, but also just because we're actually looking at it again. And I think that every company that I know I'm involved with, including all my investments, some haven't survived. And you know what? It's unfortunate, but I think it's okay. I think that the markets tell you no matter what's going on, because there's so many things an entrepreneur cannot control. But what we can control, and that is within our means to control, is something exactly like you say, the introspection and the new ways of looking at doing things.
Okay, super. Well, thanks very much, Manjit, for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, super. That was Manjit Minhas, who is a well-known Canadian entrepreneur, panelist on Dragon's Den television show, and of course, founder of Minhas Breweries and Distilleries here in Calgary. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Thanks for joining us today.